Hey up guys, yep, September Music Musings, here we go. Nothing really to say. So first up is Alscar by Nina Nesbitt. It's weird to think that it's been almost 10 years since my first gig and that was Nina. And listening to Nina is, after all this time, in a weird way, but she sounds more world weary. And that sounds like a good thing. And it's not like oh she's matured kind of, but just like, I guess having actually listened and watched this artist grow and see them evolve in this way is weirdly satisfying. I don't know how to describe that. Yep, that's all I got for that one. Next is Miss May I, Curse of Existence. This is a weird one because I'm kind of surprised how much I liked it, but I shouldn't be surprised because it's Miss May I doing what Miss May I do, and they do it well. But I think the thing is, as much as I do love them, it's been 5 years since their last release, which is insane to think about, really, how long it's actually been. And I'd hope for like some evolution in their sound, but there is none really. It's still just them doing metalcore, and it's like, and I guess it works because I'm still here enjoying it. But I've just always felt these guys could be more than this. Like, that's what I loved about Rise of the Line when I got into them, was I listened to all the stuff I'd heard of that and was like, you guys are clearly pushing for a new direction, a new sound, and then they got scared because all their fans turned on them and they just kind of stopped after that, and it sucks because I love them and I want them to do more, but they just haven't. So next is Parkway Drive, Darker Still. It's hard to know how I feel about Parkway Drive these days. It's not ploddy, but it feels quote unquote too far the other way. But at the same time, it has some bangers on it, but it feels like the heaviness is gone, which is weird because it's still heavy. It's just not as heavy as they've done, and I mean the last two records, and I don't mean the older ones. The title track sounds like they're trying to do an old western style song, and If God Can Bleed is not great. I think it's just the heaviness in the drums and the vocals are there, but the guitars have just lost their heaviness. I remember someone described him as machined by way of Iron Maiden, and I think that kind of nails it. I think they just, I think for me, Io was just perfect because it was the middle ground and it still had the heaviness and they still had some blast to them. And this is kind of too far the other way, as I said. And it sucks because I love this band and I'm still going to see him, but it's just a bit like, I feel like they kind of, it hasn't quite hit like I hoped it would, and that sucks. So next up is Stray from the Path Euthanasia. Feels like a lifetime since the last Stray album, even though it's been 3 years, but that thing has been a long 3 years. It's a banger, that's for sure. And they have plenty to say about the state of the world, which is no surprising, and I think that's why they're getting bigger, because people are kind of looking at them the same way we looked at Architects, and they're like, oh no, they're actually making a point here. I think my one nitpick is sonically, I don't feel like they've evolved that much. Like, a bunch of this could have fitted onto Internal Atomics and wouldn't have felt out of place. But at the same time, I feel like they're the kind of band that aren't really about evolving their sound so much, so okay, I guess. Next up is BlackPink, Born Pink. So this went from one extreme to the other. Not gonna lie, this was an improvement on their last record. I didn't dislike the last one, I just thought it was okay. And at first I wasn't feeling this, like Pink Venom is okay, but the second and third tracks really were doing nothing for me. But then from Yeah 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 it improves, and I really love Hard to Love. That just gives me full on like city pop vibes, which if you don't know is like generally what's kind of called like Japanese pop from like the 80s and the 90s, and yeah, that's just the best song on the album for me. And normally I would split ballads up but I like the way these two flowed into each other, with the Happiest Girl being the soloist track before building with Tally and then ending on a dance pop track in Ready for Love. For me, the last album had the issue of one big hit and what felt like largely filler songs. But I feel this is still somewhat the case, but I feel it's going to prove it around all round. Like even the weakest songs here are better, and I guess there's a few more hits for me. Yep, just going down my thing. So next up, um, Electric Callboy Techno. So this album feels like it's been in the works for ages. I think it's Hyper was 2 years ago, and it's just been kind of waiting for it since then. So I kind of had like two very different reactions upon listening to it twice. Because the first time I was like, "See, pirate metal. This is how to do big, dumb, fun party metal." Then on the re-listen, it kind of left me cold, and I think it's partly because I've been thinking about metalcore and electronicore and how that subgenre never, to use the hyperbole, achieved the heights it could have done, and I felt this album didn't really re-listen well. Like, there's some lyrics that are just kind of creepy. I'm not in a, ooh, I'm Wednesday 13, I'm a goth into murder creepy. Like, that's fun, which I realise how it sounds. What I mean is, like, Wednesday 13, someone, they aren't, it's, he's not condoning murder, but songs like Mind Reader has me like, what are your views on women? Because the lyrics of, once I'm through with you, you're gonna wish you were dead. It's like, okay, I'm not sure what he's going for there, but maybe I'm missing something here. And it's okay as a record, it just really isn't all that. For me, it's kind of just plain metalcore, and I kind of wanted to like it. I'm just not that into it, which, I wanted to review the Who's album. I didn't really have anything to say with it. The only nitpick I have is that I didn't feel the extended version of Black Thunder was needed. Other than that, it's a great record. And briefly, I'll just mention Reliqa, because they're a small band. I Don't Know What I Am is the EP title, and I don't know really how to define this. It's like post-hardcore, alt-rock, heavy music. It all fits kind of, but not quite, which is good. Really, better to be not to be able to be so easily boxed in always. It feels like a different beast from their last record, so I'm gonna keep an eye on these guys. I'm interested to see where it goes sonically. Next is Rina Sawayama, Hold the Girl. I love this. It feels like a modern day take on 2000s pop, which was a thing with her 2020 album, but even more so here. And it's probably the closest thing her fans are going to hear to rock music, considering the amount of guitars in this. And there's just so many influences in every song that just shine through, and it's great. It's a genuinely interesting pop star who manages to write stuff that's still mainstream pop, but with like an intriguing, unique personality. And this hell is probably going to come to the end of this year as one of my top songs. It is just the best kind of fabulous camp strut your stuff, like marching your way down the runway or whatever your version of a runway is. Just sassy pop, and I love that. Next up is from like August, but I didn't know about it till now, but Lauren Hibberd's Garage Band Superstar. I saw her supporting Stand Atlantic in February. Me and my friend felt kind of bad for her because she was decent, but the crowd just wasn't really responding. But I liked her quote unquote Harley Quinn style, kind of crazy, wacky, but kind of cutesy stage presence she had. And the record feels like kind of similar to what I just said about Rina. It feels like a modern take, but on noughties, but this time mainstream alt rock from the early noughties. Not the pop punk scene, but the stuff that kind of spread out was more general pop punk. And my only real criticism, maybe I've missed something here, but even though she's British, she does sound like she's putting on a weird fake accent at times. I think the weirdest compliment I could give is it's like if Weeders was actually a good band. That's how I found it. Yep. There's a few other things I just didn't bother with. I want to find something to say about Icon for Hires of Reckoning because they are one of my favourite bands and I love them. But it's one of those weird things where I don't really have anything to say. I think it's weird that 15 years and 5 albums into it, it feels like they're starting to find their sound. If that makes sense. But I don't know how else to put it. I mean, I love this band, so of course I'm always going to. So these last two technically I listened to in October, but screw it, they were September releases. One was Band-Maid, Unleash. I think because I don't know that much about the wider Japanese music scene, like, but you can hear the ex-Japan influence, and God, this album's just great. I want to have stuff to say. I can't really find anything specific. I'm just gonna say, go listen to it. This is a fucking banger. And so the last thing from this month was Slipknot, The End So Far. Adderall is a weird opener because it's kind of, for lack of a better word, jazzy to me, which isn't what you would expect from a Slipknot record. And the first few, there's a bunch of banger songs on it, so I love it, but, well, I love the songs, but the thing for me is, like, the problem is it's just decent, but when you're Slipknot, that's not good enough. It's not up to their usual standard, and maybe it's just me. It felt kind of obligatory, like kind of in that, oh, we've only got one more album to put out, then our contract's up, so let's just put whatever out, which sucks. But like, I don't think it's a bad record. I don't think there's any bad songs on it. It's just, when you're Slipknot, you have songs like Sick and Psychosocial and Duality, and then these songs are good, but they're just not on that level, which kind of sucks. So, I'm not even sure what I'd say my favourite from this month was. Maybe Band-Maid. Like, honestly, maybe. Or that, or Rina Sawayama, or The Who. Yeah, so that's it. I was hoping to use my camera, but that thing's still just not working. We'll see you next time. Alright, see you next video, guys. Bye.